All right, quick little video. We're going to try to do a drug conversion for a small dog. They, this is just dimensional analysis, intro to chem stuff. You need your conversion factors, and then you need to set it up so you can cancel everything out. So we're dealing with micrograms, kilograms, and pounds. We've got, um, whoops, messing everything up here. I've got 1,000 micrograms equals 1 milligram. And I usually go with 2.2 pounds per kilogram, but I went out a couple of digits on this one because we're dealing with micrograms on a small dog, and it seems like it might be important. I actually think the weight of the dog is going to be really important on this too, but I'm not sure how much. If they're giving you doses in micrograms, you've got some really potent stuff on your hands. With the dog, right now they're estimating, that's a pound by the way, they're estimating the dog's weight at 6 pounds per this dog. I think that weight's going to need to be tight. Like, we're going to need to know that at least with 1 decimal point. So you just set up what you know, and you're gonna use like fractional symbols, and then you're gonna have your different pieces from your conversion factor on there. So we're gonna start out with what we know. The manufacturer calls for 100 micrograms per dose, and you can put adjectives in these and use them just like math. So these are going to be fractions. I've got 100 microgram dose per 1 kilogram of dog. And every one of the fractions, that fraction bar means per. So if you see per, you just set it up like a fraction. You know, whatever it is per the thing on the bottom, just like that. And then we're going to multiply that. And then you don't always know what you're going to put next. You just know what you want in the end and what you have. So I've got, let's go ahead and just get rid of our kilograms because we did our measurements in pounds. So we'll go with the 2 point, well, the reason I know that I'm doing that is because I've got kilograms of dog. I want to cancel that out, and I want it to turn it into pounds of dog. So 2.20462 per 1 kilogram of dog. You see how that's just the conversion factor right there is 1 kilogram per 2.20462. And you can put those either way depending on what you need to cancel. But now we'll be able to cancel out the kilograms of dog, and then we'll be left with a 100 microgram dose per 2.20462 pounds of dog. And we're not going to bother doing all that yet. We'll just keep on writing everything we need to change. But we already know that we're done with the kilograms of dog. So that's good. And then we can go ahead and throw the weight of the dog in there since we know that. And we can go with 6 pounds of dog over 1 dog. And you see how I'm using my adjectives here? Like, I can cancel out pound dogs over here, and I'll just end up with dog. And in the end, I'm going to have, I need this much medicine dose per dog, considering if they all weigh exactly the same thing. But that's what we want. We just need to figure it out for 1 dog. So our answer is going to be very clear by leaving the adjective on there. I got a dog. And I can cancel that dog out. You'll see. I think I do it in this problem. All right. And then we've got our milligrams to micrograms. We've got micrograms in the top over here. So we want micrograms in the bottom over here. And we're going to change that to milligrams. The microgram symbol looks like a U, except it has a tail coming off the front edge of it, like right here. And the way I always remember the prefixes for the smaller stuff is M, and I call that a U. They got a different word for it. I don't know. MUNPFA. If you're dealing with really small stuff, micro is probably the smallest most people are ever going to deal with. but you got milli, micro, nano, pedo, femto, and atto, I think. And that's just kind of a, it's not a mnemonic because I don't make them stand for anything. I just remember the word mumpha. It doesn't mean anything. It just helps me remember. But those are all 1,000 apart. So you start with grams, and then 1,000 milligrams is gram, and then 1,000 milligrams is or 1,000 micrograms is a milligram. 1,000 nanograms is a microgram. So they're just basically going up by a factor of 3, or down by a factor of 3 every time. But at any rate, 1,000 micrograms is 1 milligram, and now we'll be able to cancel out the micrograms and get rid of that. So if now we got, just think of these as 4 fractions. We're multiplying. You could do them in any order. You can do them all at once. You can multiply your numerator straight across, multiply your denominator straight across, but let's eliminate some of the things that the reason we were doing this was to eliminate some things. So I've got kilogram dog right there, cross it out, cross it out. I've got a pound dog right there, cross it out, cross it out. I've got microgram right here, and I'm just going to cross out microgram. I'm not going to cross out the dose because that's going to carry over and tell me what I need. And then in the bottom, the only thing left I've got is dog. And then I've got dose and milligram up here. So I'll multiply all my numbers across and then just carry across all of my descriptors, whether it be milligram or dose or dog or red or whatever you put in there. So 100 times 1 times 6 times 1, we have 600, and then all of your describers, milligrams, dog, or dose, excuse me, got ahead of myself. So I've got a 600 milligram dose in the numerator, and then across the bottom, I've got 1 times 2.20462 times 1 times 1,000, and that is going to be 2,204.62 dogs. So before we do that, you use your calculator for this part, but just notice that if you had 600 milligrams of this medicine, that would be enough for 2,204 6-pound dogs. So that's some pretty potent stuff. But we don't need to give 2,200 dogs the medicine. We need to give 1 dog the medicine. So we'll go ahead and hit that division and then use a calculator for that part. 600 divided by 2,204. This is something that's always, when you're doing work on paper and then you move to your calculator, there's a little, I found it a little bit tricky when I was a kid learning stuff, is, how do I tell the difference between a division sign like this, like 1/2, that's division, but then we also have 1 divided by 2, and then sometimes people will write it like this, 1 divided by 2, and I always got a little bit mixed up, like where do I put my numbers? So just to make sure that I'm putting my numbers in the right spot, I always thought of this kind of like your fraction is right in the middle, and if I imagine this little number here is like a little pole vaulter, and that's this little pole, and then he runs over here, and then he jumps up for paper, and then he finishes his pole vault over here. And if you ever have to put something into a calculator, you can just picture that little 1 just jumping across that fraction, depending on what method of division you're going to use. That's how I always make sure I'm dividing the right thing by the right thing when I'm using my calculator. And this is the calculator approach right here. So if you take my numerator, 600, and I'm going to divide it, that's the keys you hit. Your numerator, division key, denominator, equals, and then you're going to get your answer. So 600 divided by 2,204.62 equals 0.272156, and then we had milligram dose, because all we did was divide the numbers. There's nothing else to cancel in the adjectives, and that's just over dog now. But again, all this math was based on this conversion factor of the dog weighing whatever it weighs. So if that changes, then you have to go back to your math and you have to change the weight of the dog right there. And so we've got 0.272156 milligram dose per dog. That's very specific. I don't know what the significant digits is on this, but there's a reason they gave the dose in micrograms, because once again, you can move that decimal back right over here. We undid it in our math, but that's 272 micrograms dose per dog. Well, 0.156, of course. Basically, you want somewhere between 2 and 3 milligrams, a little bit closer to 3 milligrams for the dog. But that stuff sounds like, I don't know if you got a lot of room to fudge that to 3 milligrams or 2 milligrams. There's a reason they gave the dosage in micrograms. So there you go, 0.27 milligrams for the dog or thereabouts. And you know, like if you had a way to measure micrograms, you could be a lot more accurate and just hit them with about 272. Interesting fact about pounds, the LB in pounds, it's from the Latin for libra pondo. And that libra meant weigh and pondo meant pound. So it was the weight in pounds. And then at some point they just dropped it and they just were calling it LB for libra, which actually just meant weight. And the pound symbol comes from when they would write it in cursive, then they would get sloppy and they would just end up doing that, and then you end up with the pound symbol. Always kind of bugged me. I don't know why we're not using milligrams anyway. You always have to convert it. Pounds are stupid. That's it. That's how you do the math.